Hey guys, this is Rurouni K95 here. Today's anime review is Blood Lad. Blood Lad is a Japanese anime series which is based on the manga of the same name by none other than Kodama, which this manga was serialized in Young Ace magazine as well. The anime series Blood Lad was directed by Shigeyuki Miya, and yes, this was made by the studio company Brainspace, which I've known for, which I haven't known about until now. But that's just besides the point. Yeah. So, for the thing about this anime series, this has particularly how it's given in the title to wanted to know about anybody wants to explain what it is about Blood Lad, especially on the otaku parody, what you find in this anime. Because this anime series encapsulated only 10 episodes from July 7th, 2013 until September 8th, 2013. Yeah. But that's just how it is as well. As an otaku, what you expect is how I can find this. And yes, there is basically a parody about a vampire who's obsessed with the otaku of Japanese pop culture. Instead of being a bloodthirsty killer, which is a lot more different, because that sounds like something a lot more different than your average vampire, what Blood Lad is about. I mean, how you could expect for a vampire to be a person who is obsessed with the otaku of Japanese pop culture instead of a bloodthirsty killer. But that's how the real question is that, yeah, because that's how you wanted to spend of how they made him as part of the otaku culture as well. Yeah, that sounded very interesting from what I heard. Yeah, this it devolves into an action series which has a little with the otaku culture and a parody. So for the story in the anime, the plot in Blood Lad is about Staz, who is a vampire and a leader of a demon gang. He's also a nutter for Japanese games, anime, and manga, which he smuggles from the human world. When a human girl stumbles into the demon world, he pitches a tent on her property. 2 seconds later, a plant monster eats her, whereas how what she's now a ghost. Except that Staz doesn't fancy her anymore because he's only into the human girls. He vows to return her to life so that his tent may once more stand upright, and as so, Staz goes off in search of the book of human resurrection to restore her, even though she's a ghost in this anime. But that's how it is. I mean, that's particularly if you're into vampires with the otaku culture. Blood Lad is the anime that you have to start with as well. Yeah. Yeah, Staz is your average vampire who's into the pop culture references of in Japan. However, since the anime progresses of how he's an otaku for the most part, there may be not that many jokes that you could find there's during all the action. And the thing is how Blood Lad sets itself as like a parody series, taking some anime tropes and mocking them, especially for the references, what you find from other anime, what you find in Blood Lad, even if you're into the otaku culture as well. But that's just how it is as well. For example, the human girl, which I forgot to know. I mean, the human girl, which is basically, I think it goes by the name. I forgot who, but we'll come to the character in just a moment, and as how we goes of how Blood Lad goes, of how you would expect for an anime like Blood Lad, because this is a lot more different than other anime. It's a lot more otaku culture than and Rosario Vampire or Trinity Blood to at this point of your average ways of how it's intended. Yeah, I know this anime may have vampires, ghosts, demons, and other stuff like that. What you expect finding something like that in Blood Lad as well. And yes, this is how expected. Yeah, there is basically characters like I now I know is Fuyumi Yanagi, either Yanagi and or either that or Bell Hydra would ought to do either of the two in the between as how the large breasts as well. Yeah, either in between. Despite being an early high school student, which they make fun of, when she becomes the generic large-breasted 12-year-old. I mean, seriously? How, really? What is up? How it's not in a good way? Of how you would. How would they do that? It almost makes it bland in the same way. But I'm pretty sure of how they progressives how this anime goes. I mean, just aggressive as instead of timid, on one joke before a swan dive into the ocean of generic, on these cliche and run with the joke every time Blood Lad parodies the tropes of how they find it than any other anime out there. Yeah, despite how this anime series has an one OVA and 10 episodes, because it's particularly how it deviates from the premises on every couple of these 2 episodes. There are some terrible visualizations and some of the action sequence. I mean, there are some bland characters that never involved, even if they were, or especially these tropes and parodies from other anime. What you expect for the good part in Blood Lad as well, because they made the character Staz, who is a vamp, an otaku, who's an otaku of the Japanese pop culture, instead of a bloodthirsty killer, because that's how they portrayed him as how it was intended. But that's just how it is. Yeah. So for the thing about the anime series like Blood Lad, however, it's a lot more otaku culture with some like these demons, ghosts, and vampires, particularly in this anime. That's how it's extended. So what they do is a lot more having these tropes of parodies from other anime. What they use. Oh yeah, and there's also the Kamehameha reference was almost what you see in an episode of Blood Lad, which is basically the reference to Dragon Ball Z. As also there is some other mangas that have reference to other anime and also looks identical to the cover from many other anime titles in these types of parodies, like what you see in the first episode of Blood Lad as well. Because not only dreamed of what they were doing, they have creative work that'll basically how the animators and the writers have worked on Stand the Test of Time when they ever made this anime series like Blood Lad. They have been doing it with some tropes that have parodied from other anime as how they intended, which is almost as the something as part of almost as the icing on the cake as how it goes, especially for the anime series like Blood Lad as how it was. But that's besides the point anyway, because I mean the animation looks almost well drawn, but almost as bland than any other anime out there. That's how it's intended. And it's almost to the positive way is that I'm given to stand by what's today for how Blood Lad had a lot to do for the animation as well. I mean, the story. We'll come to the story part. Yeah, for the story in Blood Lad is particularly. It starts out as an otaku parody with a vampire who quickly evolves into the plot about saving a girl. At least some of the jokes were may be funny for the most part of how it's intended. The art, however, There are some vibrant colors, which are surprising considering the vampire theme. However, it's almost as if it was creative. If you would imagine for an otaku parody for the anime, the action sequence is almost as bland, and because of the character layout doesn't interact with the attack layer. For the example, when the blood sprays everywhere, each of these characters isn't affected until the camera cuts to a different angle, and then he is streaked in blood. The sound, it may be the medium at first as well. They're both good, either in Japanese or English dubs. They don't say much of how it's worth. There's some the forgettable music in this anime as well. The overall, however, if you're a anime fan who wishes of anime that has some mild otaku humor with action, Blood Lad did got the potential in its premise. It could have been almost humorous of how the perspective of a vampire at the otaku culture, which has never been unfocused on execution, of how they make this anime a forgettable one. But overall, for this enjoyment, I thought this anime series was supposed to intended to be like a 13 episode or a 26 episode or a 52 episode anime, but instead they wanted to make this as a 10 episode anime. And yes, there's also the OVA on there. There's only a one OVA episode, I believe, on here as well, because that's besides of how to accounts of how this anime how intended for Blood Lad as how anybody wants to know what it is for this anime, but that's just how it is what it is for the anime series like Blood Lad of how it's intended, because it's a lot more different than Interview with Monster Girls, more different than Rosario Vampire, more different than High School the Dead or High School DxD, or any other anime out there in general, and also more different than any other anime that has the otaku culture out there. But there are some you could find out there, and I know this have. If you're looking for an anime that has the parts, some of these otaku culture, it's as well as more different than than Welcome to the NHK Shirobako or Bakuman as well, which I forgot to mention as how you expect. But that's besides how it is. Anyway, so for overall, I'm going to give this anime a 9 out of 10 because, yeah, it's a 10 episode anime series. I thought this was supposed to be like a 26 episode series, but that's not how it is. But it's only how it has 10 episodes because that's just how it is what it is. As how. Because this anime series also has an OVA as well, even though I have watched the anime series in the past as well, and I have read the manga that I remembered as well. So this if you want to give this anime a watch, this can be part of your anime rewatch as well. If you want to rewatch this anime series, and there is some otaku culture, but there is some perspective of the vampires and ghosts and monsters and stuff what you find in Blood Lad. So that's going to be it for my anime review on Blood Lad for today's anime review. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's my thoughts on this. When I first watched this, I never knew that this was a 10 episode anime series because, yeah, that's just how it's intended. And I've never knew that they wanted to make a 10 episode anime series and a one OVA episode together for the anime like Blood Lad as well. Because, I mean, the anime series is okay in my opinion, but that's just besides the point. Hope to subscribe for content. My anime plan link in the description down below. You can share this video on your Twitter and Facebook if you have Twitter and Facebook account, all social media. Smack the like button if you enjoyed this video. Be sure to feel free to leave in the comment section below on what is your opinion on Blood Lad anime series in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Feel free to join my channel, especially if you're new to my channel. Hit the notifications bell button. Keep it otaku for this anime review, and I got another anime review coming up next. What we have for What's in Store here. Stay tuned for my next anime review, Tsundere Strikes Back, for tomorrow's anime review on Okami-san and her 7 companions. Stay tuned for my next anime review on Okami-san and her 7 companions, because you won't want to miss another anime review.